Hi, marketers. This is Dots, and welcome to the Marketing Leadership Podcast. In what is a very, very exclusive episode, me here is Daniel Murray, founder at the Marketing Millennials and one of the world's most respected marketers. Today, we will be talking about a very simple three-word topic: mastering marketing operations. It's the core of being a marketing leader. So you want to strap in. Daniel, welcome. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be so much fun. I am not normally a guest on a podcast, so this is a
Right.
weird spot for me. So thank you for having me on and cool to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Really an honor to have you. For the few people that don't know you, the most quotable marketer in the world, can you tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and all the great things that you've done?
I think a lot of people don't know me, but I'll give a little quick background. I started my marketing journey in marketing operations. I used to implement marketing operations software. And then I climbed the ladder, worked at some SaaS startups. I worked at Oracle, all in marketing operations. And then I, 4.5 years ago, I decided to post on LinkedIn because I wanted to prove that market people in marketing operations knew more about marketing than just marketing operations. So I started posting, and that became a podcast because I ran out of ideas of what to say. So I got
Smart.
on a podcast and started interviewing the smartest marketers about marketing, then started a LinkedIn page that grew pretty fast. And that's how I scaled a lot. And then from that became a newsletter. And now it's become a newsletter of 100,000, over 100,000 people, over a
Mhm.
million people following the Marketing Millennials. And so everything went from marketing operations to media. So now all my time is spent on um, doing that. And then also I help people like brands scale on LinkedIn as well. So I have an agency that does that as well. So it was a big shift from like being in marketing operations, but it's still my roots are all in marketing.
Yeah, exactly what I said, and I've got a question in regards to that. But before then, the first time I met you, which is a couple of years ago, I was struck by something. Like, have you seen people ask you, are you linked to Marketing Millennials? And I know this might be deliberate. You trying to make Marketing Millennials like its own thing and Daniel its own thing. But have you had people ask you that question before?
Yeah. It's I don't like being the only time I started becoming the face, like a face in the marketing millennials was when I started writing the newsletter because I truly believe that people people connecting with people is a better way to write a newsletter. But I intentionally made it that the marketing millennials is about the community, not myself. And I wanted to hype up other marketers. But yes, people, it's funny to see people connect with us, especially in person when I go to events. They're like, oh, marketing millennials, Daniel. I mean, it doesn't happen that much, but when people know the market millennials and then they figure out that I am behind it, it's kind of funny. But yeah, people ask all the time. And that's intentional for me that I don't want to face all the time.
Hey there, if you're anything like me, have lots of website traffic, but no idea which ones are window shoppers and which are ready to seal the deal, then I've got a game changer for you. It's Lead Feeder. This is a tool I like using. And what it does is it shows you which companies are coming to your site. You can track their behavior and integrate it with your CRM, which will help take your lead generation efforts to make it more targeted. The result? Convert more website traffic into sales. Head over to leadfeeder.com now for a free demo, and you can also get a free extended premium trial when you let the rep know that you found out about Leadfeeder through the Marketing Leadership Podcast. All right, back to the show. Yeah, and you're right. You do hype up other marketers, so keep up the good work on that. And in terms of the topic here, marketing operations. I think this is one of the school of thoughts that you share, which is to be great at marketing operations, you need to at least know majority of every kind of marketing. I know it sort of clashes with the master of none, jack of all trades mantra, but you know, in a way, technically, that seems to be the case. You need to be well versed in all aspects of marketing. So, how is that practically possible? What does that look like in your world, for those here that want to be that marketing leader, mastering operations?
I mean, all marketing leaders out there always come from one part of marketing. So, like, if you think about it, they either come from product marketing, come from demand gen, growth, they come from uh,
That's my
maybe a
language.
communication,
Yeah,
a communications background, and then once you the but the problem with that is that to become a marketing leader, like when you know one section of marketing, it's just like knowing one part of the puzzle. And if you don't have the other parts of the puzzle, you can solve the bigger puzzle of marketing. So I don't think you need to be an expert in all parts of marketing, but you should understand like what are the team metric on, why they're doing testing creative, what is Facebook, what are all these things, understand why content marketing is doing what it's doing, understand, because then you get the whole picture. And I also think you need to even go broader than just knowing what marketing, you need to know what the business, you know, business metrics. Like to become a better marketer, you have to know finance, you need to know what customer because marketing is everything in the business, touches everything. So if you don't know why marketing's in all these things, especially in marketing operations where you're measuring, your goal is to be, back to the day, marketing operations was just seen as the tech people, the people who behind it put together all
how
the
many posts
software
did
and
you
stuff.
do
But now,
today?
yeah, and now marketing operations has become very strategic role that is a lot of data and a lot of tech together. But to be able to do that, you have to understand the why behind all sections of marketing. So that's why one reason why marketing millennials exists, because I believe that everybody should know the top of on the T-shaped marketer, which is knowing all marketing,
Yeah.
like at least at a basic level or like a little bit above basic level to become a better.
Yeah, that makes sense. When I was in the corporate side, now on the agency side, at least for now, but I've had equal experience in the two worlds. I've had bosses come to say, okay, so Dots, I need to take this digital marketing course, so I better understand what you're doing. And even though I don't say it out, there was one boss I was very close to, I had to speak to and say, okay, so you don't want me to stop hiding things from you, or something like that. It felt at that moment, it felt powerful, because they're like coming to me for help to learn what I do, even though they are my bosses and their appraisals will make or mar my future. So um, it, I think if you're listening here, you're on the senior side, like Daniel says, even if it's on the basic level, I think it's important to know what, is going on. My guess is CMOs, they already have like MBAs, so they have some idea on the business acumen, but they don't have the idea on what's happening on the technical side. Should we start using ChatGPT or not? Or should we do this? Or should we do that? Or how
I
do we
mean,
run?
the
Yeah.
best, the best CMOs and the best leaders, hire the best. That's the, like, they hire people to do the role. But I do think that, um, a lot of like, maybe in big corporate side of things that they're the ones that know, but like a lot of the CMOs of like, are people who came up the ranks in marketing. They understand a lot about marketing. Um, they and it's hard to be a specialist in everything. So they just hire the best people, but they've dabbled in a lot of the. You have to know, the thing is that you don't know why things, like if you don't know why when good product marketing, you don't know what, like, how are you supposed to lead good product marketing, but a good product marketing team. You should know what good looks like. All sectors.
Yeah.
Be able to be great, be a great leader.
Interesting. And speaking of being vast or at least having some idea in all aspects, those aspects can become very plenty. You have operations across departments, across teams, operations across business units, marketing, operations across brands within a conglomerate, even operations across brands within a conglomerate within a market. Those who are in Asia, or those who are in the Americas, or those who are in the UK. If you start to look at all that, as a marketing leader, you are looking at tens, if not hundred, of initiatives that needs to tie to business objectives. So from your experience and from speaking to other marketing leaders, what are some of the ideas on how they've coped with, whether it's through prioritization or better connecting the dots than dots himself, which would be nice. How are they able to cope with managing all these pieces and empowering their teams to make sure that everything works, even with the scale?
So what like good companies do is when like usually at the beginning it's very scrappy and really put together, and then you start getting to a point where you have to create like standard operating procedures, documentation. This is when you're in scaling, it's all about creating documentation. So what usually happens is you you figure out operation for one market, you write down all the operating procedures, and you make it into some sort of everything's documented. So if someone else to come and do the job, they have the playbook to do that, and then you can take that and duplicate it for other markets. Other markets also have different things obviously going on. Like Europe have a different way of collecting data, and different countries have different way to collect data. So you have to be conscious of that. And usually you hire people in that market who know that stuff to do that. But usually at scale, when you get to that sort of scale, it's a lot of documentation. It's a lot of little tweaks to make things better. At the beginning, it's a lot of just figuring things out and connecting things and breaking things. And it's a lot of, but if you don't set the foundation early of making sure that you're documenting every process, doing that, but that's why I truly believe like there's a marketer for every scale. And sometimes like you're not the marketer for that scale. Like I don't think I'm a good marketing operations person for a $1 billion company. That's not I'm very scrappy,
Yeah.
creative,
Yeah.
like marketer that's going to figure things out at the beginning. And then once you reach another level, I can hand it off to something really good at documentation, um, like figuring out more big picture stuff. But I
Yeah.
think there's also
Maybe
marketers
introducing some bureaucracies as well, at that level.
exactly. There's a lot of that level is a different type of scale, and I think, but that's also you have a lot more people work.
Yeah.
Like that's the big difference too. Is like you can hire a marketing operations manager in that market. When you're a smaller company, you're the only marketing operations for a long time. Like we didn't start hiring marketing operations people like under me until, and some companies till we reached like 40, 50 million a year. So it's like, you're the only one for a long time until you reach like a certain scale where you need help to, because data becomes more important, systems become more important, little things that don't matter at smaller scales start mattering. And you can keep building the house with duct tape to figure out how to have, the, um, yeah, that's why there's different markers for different levels.
I like that point, because that was supposed to be my next question, which is, if I'm not in that documentation system, I just want to get things done. What do I do? So if you're on the pod, you need to figure out the kind of person you are. Are you the duct tape, scrappy fellow, maybe with some level of documentation, but not something crazy? or are you sort of the corporate person that, there's Bible for everything, basically? Uh, that's something that you need to figure out. And then, but what is commonly agreed, which, Daniel just reinforced, is documentation in general. You don't just run marketing. Oh, it's time for this. Let's do this. You should um, have be a professional. Documentation is one of the signs of any professional in any trade, let alone marketing. And it looks like marketers need to do way more to have that professional business acumen, so that their seat at the management table is not just a toddler seat, but a real throne, if you like. So that.
But also, I mean, documentation helps you hire. So, if
Mm,
you want to become the next leader, the next stage of leadership, you need to be able to hand off things to someone else. If you haven't been documenting your process, it's going to take so much longer to onboard someone to take your position so you can take the next step up in your position. Otherwise, if you're the only person who knows everything and you can um, do anything, but also documentation uh, helps you know like what helps you fix problems faster. So you can say like, oh, let me just go check and say like, what did I do here? Oh, you could have built something like 6 months ago and you got to go back and because everything is like refreshing, relearning, retesting, and so it just helped you. Or I'm not like that's why like when I went to a bigger company, like one of the two things I hire in marketing operations is someone who is like an analyst type to help with the data side of the marketing, and then someone who's a process person who can help with documentation, like process building and process mapping. And those are two different skill sets. That's why marketing operations is hard is because it's working a lot of different types of brain functions. Um, so that's why you have to know. Like I came up in the way of technology, other people come up with the way with learning from data and data science and all that stuff. So there's different ways to coming up even in marketing.
Yeah, that makes sense. While you were speaking, you mentioned something some minutes ago about creativity. And I think every marketing leader should be creative anyway. Sometimes you miss the mark, but at the end of the day, some you win and you become what's the name of that pink brand now? Barbie, or Oppenheimer, or whatever happened in 2023. So um but what comes to my mind is a marketing leader or any leader at all has that you just need to be pragmatic in some way. Like you always in this take a step back mode as a leader, right? How can we balance that? How can we be that, have that pragmatic virtue, if I were to use that word, and still be the marketer that is still open enough to be creative? Or is that marketing leader that is not stifling the creativity, as my boss would say many years ago, stifling the creativity of the marketing team? And in the world of, tech, AI, less personalization and all that, being personal, being authentic, being creative is starting to become very important. Even in me just stalking you for some years, I've seen that sometimes you share examples of simple ads that convey a very big message, and why marketing sometimes or marketing campaigns don't have to be crazy, and all that. So what's that balance like? I personally, you know, I'm still working on the balance, because I've not reached that point yet. So what has been your experience?
Two ways to answer it. I think people mistake what creativity actually is. One, I think creativity is just taking through obsolete ideas and making a new one. And sometimes that in process and sometimes that's big, cool ideas. And I think there's a lot of ways to be creative in marketing. So I think that's one. But I also do think there's like on team, there's a saying like Navy SEALs and pirates. I think you need Navy SEALs, the people who are super organized, super like diligent, um, super grinders. Then you also need the pirates who are like all over the place, like very creative, not creative, but very have
Right.
ideas all the time, very strategic. And you need both those in an environment to be successful. You can't have all Navy SEALs and you can't have all pirates, otherwise things will break. And yeah, I think that a lot of good marketing is understanding data, but also like having intuition because you've been in marketing, because data in the sense is always in the past. Like data is never in the future. It could help you tell you what direction to go in the future, but it won't give you the map. And that's where intuition, I think, always the analogy is like, um, you go on that, you're on a hike or something, and you like the data is telling you, hey, go to this direction, maybe go twist and turn a little bit, but your intuition will be like, okay, there's a lion in the path. I might have to go another route, or um, it's gonna rain over here. I need to maybe like stop go down that path because it might slide. Or hey, there's actually another better path here because it's quicker and a more direct line. And that's where you, as a skilled hiker who's done it a lot of times, are going to make those decisions where like someone who's never been on the mountain before wouldn't know what to do in those. So that's where, as a marketer who's been and does that, have that intuition to make the decisions. The data would tell you like, this is a good mountain to go to. This is maybe an ideal path. This is maybe the direction you should go to. But being a good like hiker or a good climber or whatever, you will have to do things in that. Like you might have to go around something. You might have to like a rock. Something might boulder might fall in your path, and you might have to go somewhere.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what you said is great, but unfortunately, Daniel, we do have marketing leaders, stakeholders that are just set in their ways. Maybe it's a personality thing, I don't know, but and they might have the authority to shut things down. Again, it's always better to be, I guess, to not do something than do something and then blow up the brand or break the
I
brand
mean,
to them.
it's it's human. It's human. It's human ways. Um, there's a famous saying like nobody got fired for hiring IBM. Like always, like you always the logical decision in business is always going to win. Like if you can show by data, it's always going to win. And the thing that I'll just say to the market leaders who aren't like that is that someone else is going to beat you if you don't like step out of your ways and do something different. Like sometimes what you're doing is right and it's working and different things. I also think there's another side of the flip coin is like sometimes I think, oh, like I'll play like devil's advocate on like, even though I've been around marketing leaders, they're being a little hard, like don't. But I also do think that sometimes like they're seeing things that the people below them aren't seeing, and they're doing things for a reason. So I think there's like asking those questions of like digging deeper on the why behind why they're saying no and why they think this is the wrong way, and figuring out that. And then the best way to go to these leaders is like do something as a small test
Yes.
and then say like, hey, and then show them the results. Like you have to show people results. So say, hey, I want like $1,000 a budget to test this little thing. If it works, we can scale it up to more and more and more. But like start small. Like a lot of people go in guns blazing and say they want $1 million in budget to do this, and that's never going to work. Like you have to start in small tests and work with the big.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of learning this year, 2024, and the biggest part of that, again, I have a lot of experience already, not too much, but something building, um, is in testing, A/B testing, conversion lift, brand lift, and all those kinds of things. And that's because it's just very important. It's one way to get your ideas out the door, where people cannot actually criticize the data, right? No one, the data doesn't lie, as they would say. But one thing that I've not heard in a while, which I can relate to, which you said, is ask your business leaders or whatever, ask them why no. That happened recently. We were supposed to have a guest. The guest said they were going to join, and then later they said they were not going to join anymore. And I was like, why? Uh, and then I went on to even say, is it because you guys are under some prohibition thing? If you work for a company, you're not allowed to be on podcasts. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. But if I didn't ask, I would just have felt that the person didn't want to honor my invitation, even after saying yes for some reason. Um, but that's just one, I guess, casual example. But I think generally marketing leaders should be able to find out why, because there might be some things that you don't know, that is going on at the top, where the fire is hot, and the pressure is
And that even for your example, I mean, you asked them why, so you knew the reason. I mean, the next step could be like, hey, come on, you don't have to talk anything about the company you're working for. I'm not going to ask you any questions about that. I just want to ask about like general skill building, general like how you would teach marketers. You don't even have to talk anything about what you do, and then that could change the conversation of like, oh, okay, I don't have to mention the brand, because a lot of people would have the podcast. Just an example is just like they will ask them drilling questions about what they do and what was the best campaign, and they can't answer it, and then they can get in trouble. But if you just give them set of questions that have nothing to do with like the company, they usually are cool with you coming on the podcast. So like knowing the why could give you the next step of how to
what to do. Yeah. I'm going to do just that, and I'll tell her that Daniel Murray gave me the advice. So we'll see what it say. Thank you. That was a good one, and that's really how it works here on the pod. The guests giving knowledge to the host, the guest is giving knowledge to you. And I hope you've learned a lot of things so far in the subject of marketing operations, which it's changing a lot these days. And you need to really be on the right mindset here. The only thing I'm asking for in return is for you to share this episode. Share this episode, with someone that might need it, with a marketing leader that is trying to figure out a new role. Maybe the person just got a promotion or something like that. As they say, the reward for good work is more work. So please share. It's all I'm saying. Also helps us out to continue to put these episodes like this out there with top guests, like shooting for the sun. Really, yeah. So we're going to ask one more question, but before then, we're going to start the rapid fire. So on the rapid fire, it's really, and the rapid fire today is a very interesting from a brand perspective. It's often us putting marketers in the marketing hot kitchen, or in making them a witness in the marketing court of law. But as a man of faith, I know there was a certain Daniel that was thrown into the den of lions. So we'll do the marketing den of lions today, and see how Daniel is going to cope by saying the truth and nothing but the truth. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, good. First question, what is your favorite product marketing metric apart from sales or revenue?
That's good. Apart from sales, because I was going to say revenue.
I know. Beyond all the guests will have we took it out.
Yeah. So my favorite marketing metric. Okay, I mean, I'll go one step above that. I mean, in SaaS, it's, or at least marketing, because you can control it, is pipeline. Like how much pipeline you can bring in, because I do believe that is rather far. So pipeline. If you need to do clarification, why?
Well, if we were a B2B guest, I would say pipeline. So I wasn't expecting that. So I'll let that go because you surprised me. So please, yeah, pipeline. I mean I mean, just not to delay your rapid fire, but as a digital product marketer, I'm starting to think about, the value of pipeline and why pipeline could be the next inflated marketing metric. So my hope to marketers is
I mean, net new, like, trials or net new,
demos.
whatever is
Yeah.
demos is probably the best if you're doing like that. But I mean, I'm not a product. I've never like been impressed. If I'm going with SAT,
Mhm. Mhm.
buy number one, man. Then
Mhm. Makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Second question. How long do you use social media every day for work? Is an interesting one.
too long. Probably, probably like 4 hours a day. But my whole job is social media, so it's like
Yeah, that
a
was why
lot.
it's
So,
an interesting question. So we've had a
uh,
few folks shock us and they would say they use 15 minutes. I'm like, well, you are into social media, like you help people build their social media. That's interesting. But yeah, you're
yeah, I mean,
right.
it's probably some days are probably like 7 hours, but I'm averaging it and being smart and giving like 4 hours.
Yeah, interesting. And guys, don't there's no criticism on Daniel here. If you know Daniel, then you know that there is a lot of rewards on what's happening on the social media space, especially his own ecosystem. So if I were you, I would copy whatever he's doing if you can. All right. Last rapid fire question. What is your favorite marketing or business quote? Marketing quotes preferably.
Again, but put on the spot here. I'll go with one that came into my mind, but one of my favorites is people buy with emotion and then later justify with logic. And I think that is just encompasses what how you got to think about marketing. So I think that's one.
Yeah, that makes sense. And guys, if you're on the pod, sorry, I did not preface the question properly. Again, Daniel, to me, and I think that's what the data shows, is the most quotable marketer on the planet. Gives quotes about his own thoughts and other marketers, and that's kind of like the Bible in today's marketing world for those who seek knowledge. So I thought I'll put that in as well. And yes, great quote. You buy a $20 million item with maybe 30% logic. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean even a cheaper product with no logic, is there. But like most buying decisions are made because there's a feeling involved. The
Yeah.
most, I would say, every you as a marketer, you gotta know how to.
Especially how, and I'm glad with how B2B now is starting to introduce a lot of emotions into marketing, because we are now in a place where everybody's doing almost the same thing. And even when you search for, say, Salesforce, you will see 5 ads of other products saying, are you searching for Salesforce? Try us instead, which is a bad way of getting into the emotion, but it's a start. We are catching up to what B2C or consumer marketing is doing. So that makes sense. Okay, so the last one, yeah. So the last question is, I kept it for the last. Guys, if you're about to leave, don't, because I think this will be one of the most important questions. And it's the obvious guy, the news of the decade, basically. What a time to be alive. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, and everything in between. Now marketers are leveraging that, I think, interestingly from a survival perspective, because if you don't leverage it, it's gonna replace you in a way if you don't learn. Uh how can we, as marketing operations leaders, how can we use AI to, better systemize our marketing initiatives? Maybe in some ways make campaign creation, cross-channel, omni-channel campaign creation much better and even valuable. How can it basically take us to the next level? What are some of those skills that you think, we need to have just so we can, as they say, you want to be on the place of the master of AI. don't be an equal or even a servant. You want to be at the place of a master when it comes to AI, so that your marketing career can continue to progress. So how I know you've been speaking a lot about AI. What is that looking like in your private moments? Let me put it that way.
Um, so the way I think about it is, and I think we talked about a little bit in this podcast already, but what with AI being what it is, what makes humans great is our creativity and being strategic and understanding the role that we're in, right? So I think what AI is meant to do, and the way I think about it is there's so many time saving spots and like monotonous things you do and things that and it this is prefaced this like we've
Mm,
been doing like we're AI and all this stuff has been around for a long time. We're like it's just becoming more consumer like focused now. But I think now people are realizing the importance of like it's just an efficiency gain and everything in business efficiency gain. So figure out like what are those daily tasks, what are those weekly tasks, what are things that um you can do to get you in a position to you becoming more creative and strategic in your role. And that's how you can become like better. 'Cause AI will be able to launch email campaigns, write things for you, uh, do data entry tasks, all these things that are like, but it take you still have to know like what good looks like, what great looks like, knowing how to and how just knowing how to connect the dots, and how it works.
yeah.
And I think that and that's why what I said before of like, oh, you asked me in the beginning about why knowing it part of marketing is important is
Yeah.
like you have to know, and also the nuances of like businesses. Like it's hard to know like the inner workings of like all your customers. What are their emotions? What are they need? Like, and AI is only the data you feed it. So like the better data in, the better data out. So, but like I think it's a long answer, but I think that focus on at first you just need to focus on just like knowing why AI is work great, why it will help you, how it'll make you better at your job instead of thinking like it's gonna replace me. Think of like how
Yeah.
can it make me 10x better at what I do today? That's how I
Yeah. Yeah. The value of multiplication. I think what you should also mention that I love is when you feed it with data. I've thought about this. In some cases I've attempted it. If you have a repository of customer feedback about your product, about your brand, why not have AI process that, and give you some ideas to improve your brand messaging, to improve your brand positioning in general. If you're in the consumer space, of course, maybe you've sold stuff online and you have a bunch of bad reviews and good reviews. Don't just isolate the good ones, analyze both good and bad, and see if there's any insight there that could help, that you could provide to sales, or even if sales got insights from their conversations, and you can take that and maybe analyze that at scale and with volume. But yes, it's an efficiency game really, and it's makes things better, but quality is very, very key. And I think unfortunately we are getting to an age whereby with every innovation there's always abuse, right? So you guys need to be careful with the way you use it, make sure that
I
uh
mean, and also with every innovation, jobs get lost. Like, but it's also a lot of jobs get too.
created.
So like you
Yeah.
think about every innovation in the whole entire world, like even when the internet comes, people were using like people who had to file things and stuff like that, like manually, like, but there's still businesses that do that too. But it's just like with efficiency gains, jobs get lost, but also jobs get gained. And you got to figure out, you just got to be ahead of what those are things. And that's why I think as marketers, you should learn the why. That's why I say you should learn the why of every, like the why and how of everything and how like why people are using it, how could it make me better at my job? Should I be learning this? That's what the great thing about marketing is like curiosity, learning, and great marketers are curious. Like they always want to be, and you have to be a.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think one emerging job position will be an AI trainer. So yeah, I would add marketing to that to say a market AI marketing trainer or marketing AI trainer. So whatever that entails, you can just Google it and see what you need to do to upskill, because it will be all about sending accurate and detailed briefs and always feeding. So that's one way to really look at new jobs that could be created, which Daniel, you're very, very right. I know we could go on and on here, but coming up on time already. So thank you so much for doing this. Very, very fun conversation as well. Very, very valuable conversation as well. A few advices that I'm even taking on myself. So thank you. Where can, again, the few millions that haven't heard from you or learned from you or met you online, where can they find you and follow your work?
I hang out on LinkedIn a lot. So Daniel Murray. I also have the Marketing Millennials, which is on LinkedIn if you want to start being introduced. But we also have a newsletter, the Marketing Millennials, the podcast, the Marketing Millennials. So you type the Marketing Millennials in Google, you're buying all of them that we do. That
I know Daniel is very modest here, but here's what I'll tell you guys. Just Google top 5 marketing podcasts worldwide, and I will guarantee you that the Marketing Millennials is there. I know people are like, you're hyping the guest, but you just want to try that. That was what I did, and that was what I found. So he runs one of the most popular podcasts in the world, which is again just incredible. Keep up the good work on everything you're doing here. Guys, that is the end of the episode for us. You want to see more episodes from great guests like this one, you can go to my website, dotslovesmarketing.com. And also you can follow podcasts on, of course, make sure you follow the Marketing Millennials first. Then come to the Marketing Leadership Podcast. Follow on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Till next time.
no. I would say I'll add it. Go follow him first. Go follow Dots first.
Okay.
Go follow them, and then come to me,
I,
and then
I
you can
have the
hang.
approval. So guys, you just heard that.
Right.
You need to turn that around. Follow my podcast first, then follow Daniel's podcast, afterwards. Yeah, thank you so much for giving me that honor as well. Guys, stay true to your marketing until I see you next time or hear from you. Connect the dots.